we invited Robert Saleem Holbrook, who is in conversation with many people in this room, and who himself serving a juvenile life without parole sentence, to talk on the topic also of politicized prisoners. The whole article is actually back there, so if people want to read it after, but I'm just going to read a small portion of it again to sort of bring that into the space, and to bring into the space what political prisoners have meant to folks on the inside, to prisoners on the inside, as well as to those of us out here. And the piece is called Continuing Legacies of Resistance. More than anything else, it is the example of political prisoners that the government fears. This explains why the prison system still keeps many political prisoners in isolation or in super maximum security prisons, despite the fact that many of them are seniors, often struggling with serious health conditions exacerbated by the conditions of their imprisonment. Here, I think he's very much thinking about Russellman and Schultz. Despite the severe limitations imposed by the special measures that the prison system uses to isolate political prisoners, i.e. placement in control units, restrictions on their mail-in phone, frequent transfers to prisons far away from their families and regions of support, etc., political prisoners have been able to contribute valuable insights and ideas to those people and movements struggling to bring about real social and political change in the United States. Their ability, in concert with committed activists on the outside, to transcend the isolation of their imprisonment has kept their example very much alive despite the attempts of the state to extinguish their history and spirit. In addition to activists on the outside, there is another group of people whom political prisoners regularly touch and influence, and these are their fellow prisoners. In particular, those who make a conscious decision to walk in the example of the political prisoners they come into contact with. This influence that political prisoners have upon other prisoners is one of the main reasons why the prison system both isolates and frequently transfers them, so that they cannot organize the larger body of prisoners to fight to improve their conditions of imprisonment and/or insist upon their rights. Seen in this light, supporting politicized prisoners, those who they have become politicized in the process of this, becomes just as important as supporting political prisoners. Given that the prison industrial complex and US politicians have completely shifted the treatment of prisoners away from rehabilitation, favoring instead the treatment of those incarcerated as subhumans on neo-slave plantations. The initiative for prisoners to transform themselves must currently come from inside. However, meaning from within. However, without outside support to help facilitate this change, politicized prisoners will be isolated and marginalized by a system that despises the very examples they have chosen to embrace. The fact that the state and federal government continues to decline an extension of amnesty to the movement's senior political prisoners demonstrates a deliberate policy of death by attrition. Politicized prisoners keep the memory and sacrifices of political prisoners alive because they exemplify the revolutionary politics and values that political prisoners and their movements represent. And then I'm just going to read you this last paragraph. Further, politicized prisoners are not content to simply confine themselves to being keepers of a revolutionary culture and tradition that came before them, but also serve to contribute to the movement today. Some of the most scathing critiques and revolutionary writings against the prison industrial complex, against societal injustice, and against corporate capitalism are coming from politicized prisoners who are imprinting their own mark on the movements and history of social justice and revolutionary struggles. More than anything else, these contributions on their part are the main reason for society to support them. As politicized prisoners, we seek to be judged on our own merits and not solely because we are carrying on the legacy and example of political prisoners. Supporting politicized prisoners also contributes to our personal development and our transition from social criminal to revolutionary because it places us in direct contact with a new social class of people from diverse backgrounds and cultures who help us to shed negative values, standards, concepts of gender superiority, and homophobic attitudes that are in opposition to revolutionary culture and movements. Politicized prisoners therefore seek to enhance the movement supporting political prisoners and revolutionary change in the United States. In doing so, we seek not to be rescued, but rather to help rescue a world on the brink between corporate tyranny and freedom. Because when freedom is outlawed, only the outlaws will be free. Robert Saleem Holbrook. I feel like in his modesty, what Saleem maybe leaves out is how much we have to learn from those politicized prisoners ourselves as individuals who are also struggling for social change and who benefit immensely from the challenges these individuals bring to our own thinking and our own assumptions.